And Young Buzz, welcome back to the channel where we dive deep into all things K-pop, from breaking news to the stories behind the songs that move millions around the world. And today, we're talking about something that truly defines a decade of impact, talent, and legacy: Twice. Yes, Twice is still standing strong in their 10th year since debut, and honestly, that's such a huge achievement. Not many groups can last that long, let alone stay relevant and keep breaking records like they do. This year, Twice didn't just perform. They headlined one of the biggest global music festivals, Lollapalooza 2025, performing 21 of their greatest hits. Can you imagine how wild that crowd must have been? Thousands of fans from all over the world singing along to Twice's songs. That's more than just popularity. That's global influence. But that's not all. Twice has also been making waves on the Billboard Hot 100, and this is massive, because breaking into that chart isn't easy, even for big K-pop names. In 2025, Twice officially has 4 songs that made it to the Billboard Hot 100, 2 from the past and 2 from this year. That's why today, we're going to talk about those songs, what made them special, why they charted, and what it says about Twice's musical evolution. So, let's start from the very beginning, the song that started it all, The Feels. When Twice released The Feels back in October 2021, it was a big deal. It was their first ever English single, not just a translated version of a Korean hit, but a full English track made for international audiences. And guess what? It worked. The Feels entered the Billboard Hot 100 at number 83, Twice's first ever entry there. It only stayed for 1 week, but that week made history. And here's what's so cool about The Feels. It still feels like Twice. You know what I mean? It didn't sound like they were trying to copy Western pop just to fit in. Instead, it carried that classic Twice energy, bright, bubbly, and full of that confident, youthful charm. It's that same Twice we've known since their debut days with Cheer Up and TT, but now speaking directly to their global fans. Personally, I think The Feels hit differently because it came at a time when K-pop was exploding internationally. BTS was dominating, Blackpink was touring, and Twice finally said, okay, it's our turn to step into the global spotlight. And they did it their way, with smiles, sparkles, and energy that made everyone fall in love with them all over again. The song itself is about that thrilling moment of a crush, love at first sight. That feeling when your heart just skips and you can't stop smiling. The lyrics say, boy, I know, I got the feels. It's simple but catchy, and that's what makes it timeless. And let's be honest, who else could pull off a love song that sounds this fun without it feeling cheesy? Only Twice. Even the choreography, the synchronized steps, the cute gestures, everything screamed confidence and joy. But here's something I want to throw out to you guys. The Feels might have been Twice's first English single, but do you think it was the right sound to introduce them to Western audiences? Or would you have wanted something a bit more mature, like what they later did with Moonlight Sunrise? I really want to hear your thoughts in the comments, because personally, I feel The Feels was a perfect starting point. It captured who Twice was, a bright, confident group who knows how to make people smile. Now, speaking of Moonlight Sunrise, that brings us to their second English single released in early 2023. And oh, this one showed a whole new side of Twice. When I first listened to Moonlight Sunrise, I was like, wow, this is different. It's smooth, sensual, and way more mature than The Feels. It's like Twice grew up right in front of our eyes. Instead of singing about butterflies and crushes, they were now expressing something deeper, more romantic, and maybe even a little mysterious. The concept behind the song, comparing love to the glow of the moon and the warmth of the sunrise, was beautiful. It's poetic, but also kind of bold for Twice. It shows that they were no longer just the cute girl group. They were artists who could express more complex emotions. Moonlight Sunrise was a pre-release single for their mini album Ready to Be. And when it debuted at number 84 on the Billboard Hot 100, it might have been 1 rank lower than The Feels, but the artistic growth it showed was a massive win. Even if it only stayed for a week, it proved Twice wasn't just a one-time hit on Billboard. They were building something, step by step. And honestly, I feel like Moonlight Sunrise didn't get the full recognition it deserved. Maybe it was released at a weird time, or maybe Western radio wasn't ready for Twice's softer R&B inspired sound. But musically, it was gorgeous. The harmonies, the layering, that dreamy synth, it felt like a warm night under city lights. One thing I also noticed, this song felt more personal, especially when you watch the music video. Each member had this aura of confidence, but also vulnerability. You could tell they were connecting more with the emotions behind the lyrics. It wasn't just choreography or catchy hooks, it was storytelling through sound and expression. And you know, it makes me think about how much Twice has evolved since their debut in 2015. They went from singing cheerful anthems like Ooh Ah to crafting English singles that connect emotionally with a global audience. That's growth, not just as idols, but as artists. So let's pause here for a second. Which era of Twice do you love the most? The cute and bubbly days of Cheer Up and TT, or the confident, mature vibes from Moonlight Sunrise? And their recent releases. I'm super curious what side of Twice resonates most with you. Because for me, it's hard to choose. I love how their early songs bring nostalgia and happiness, but their newer music shows a depth that feels really authentic. Twice is evolving, but still remains true to who they are. And that's what makes them special, right? They don't need to chase trends. They create moments. Whether it's with a feel-good pop song or a sultry R&B track, Twice just knows how to make people feel something. But of course, their journey on the Billboard Hot 100 didn't stop there. After The Feels and Moonlight Sunrise, Twice came back stronger with new hits that proved they were more than just a K-pop sensation. They were a global music powerhouse. Let's talk about those next. Now let's move forward to the next big moment in Twice's Billboard journey. The song that showed their staying power and creative evolution, Strategy. This one dropped on December 6, 2024, as the title track of their 14th mini-album with the same name. And can we just take a second to appreciate how impressive that is? 14 mini-albums in 10 years? Twice really never slows down. But Strategy was different. It had that bold, confident edge that screamed, "We know who we are, and we're still here to win." What's fascinating about Strategy is how it didn't immediately chart on the Billboard Hot 100. It actually took around 7 months before it made its debut there, on July 29, 2025, at number 92. That's rare. Usually a song charts right after release, but this one grew organically. It climbed slowly from 92 to 74, and then peaked at number 69 by August 12th. That's Twice's highest Billboard Hot 100 ranking ever as a group. To me, that says something important. Twice isn't just surviving off hype anymore. They've built a steady global fan base that keeps streaming, supporting, and pushing their music up the charts long after the initial buzz fades. That's real staying power. Musically, Strategy felt like a statement. The title itself hints at something clever. A plan, a mindset, maybe even a commentary on how Twice navigates the music industry. The song blends that familiar Twice catchiness with a more experimental sound. It's polished, but also bold, and that balance is exactly why fans connected with it so deeply. I don't know about you, but when I first heard Strategy, I immediately felt this sense of empowerment. Like Twice was saying, we're not just idols following a formula, we're in control of our own path. And I think that message resonated not just with onces, but with anyone who's ever had to prove that they still belong in a space where trends change so fast. And that's what I love about Twice's recent era. They're more self-aware, they're taking creative risks, while still giving fans the energy they love. It's growth, the kind of growth you want to see after 10 years in the game. But if Strategy was about showing strength and maturity, the next song on the Billboard Hot 100 brought something even more unexpected, a collaboration that no one saw coming. Let's talk about Takedown. This song is really special. Released as part of the K-pop Demon Hunters 2025 movie soundtrack, Takedown wasn't even a traditional Twice comeback. It was a soundtrack song, but not just any soundtrack song. It was performed by Jonghyun, Jihyo, and Chaeyoung alongside the artist Hunter X. And somehow, it ended up being one of Twice's biggest Billboard moments to date. Takedown debuted on the Billboard Hot 100 at number 86 and stayed there for 5 weeks, the longest run of any Twice song on the chart so far. Not only that, it peaked at number 66. That's higher than Strategy, higher than The Feels, higher than any other Twice song before it. How cool is that? A Subunit song from a movie soundtrack ended up being their most successful Billboard hit yet. That's insane, but it makes sense when you listen to it. Takedown is cinematic, dark, and powerful. It's got that movie energy, but also feels very Twice, especially in the vocals. Jihyo's strong voice, Jonghyun's emotional tone, Chaeyoung's charisma, they blend perfectly. You can tell this wasn't just a simple project song. They gave it their all, and honestly, it's refreshing to see Twice members branching out like this. After a decade together, it's normal for members to explore their individual artistry. But the fact that even a side project like Takedown can perform this well globally, that's proof of how influential Twice has become. Their name alone carries power. Let's take a moment to think about how far they've come. From singing cheerful songs about first love, to headlining Lollapalooza and hitting Billboard multiple times, Twice has evolved, adapted, and grown with their audience, and they're still doing it together. That's what makes them different from so many other groups. They didn't fade away after a few years. They didn't rely on one big viral hit. They built a long-term connection with their fans, and that bond is what keeps pushing them forward. And seeing Twice still thriving after 10 years gives me hope, not just as a fan, but as someone who loves music. Because it reminds us that you don't have to change who you are to succeed globally. You just need to stay consistent, keep learning, and never lose the passion that started it all. Now, I want to hear from you guys. Which of these 4 songs, The Feels, Moonlight Sunrise, Strategy, or Takedown, do you think best represents Twice's global journey? Which one gave you chills or made you proud to be a fan? Drop your answer in the comments, because I know every once has that one Twice song that means something personal to them. And also, do you think Twice will ever break into the Billboard Top 50? Or maybe even Top 10 one day? Considering their steady climb and growing Western presence, it's not impossible. They've already headlined major festivals, they've proven they can chart, and they keep expanding their sound. If anyone can do it, it's Twice. To wrap it up, Twice's journey on the Billboard Hot 100 isn't just about numbers or rankings. It's about proof. Proof that a group built on teamwork, charm, and hard work can transcend language and culture. They've followed in the footsteps of their JYP seniors, Wonder Girls, but they've also carved their own unique path in history. So whether it's The Feels that made you dance, Moonlight Sunrise that made you swoon, Strategy that made you proud, or Takedown that gave you goosebumps, remember, each song is a chapter in Twice's incredible story. And that's all for today's Deep Dive, Buzz fam. If you enjoyed this discussion and want more stories like this, don't forget to hit like, share this video with your fellow onces, and subscribe to Anyang Buzz for more thoughtful takes on K-pop moments that truly matter. Until next time, this has been Anyang Buzz, where every beat tells a story. See you in the next one.